Welcome today to our webinar today. Thank you so much for joining and spending your afternoon with us today. My name is Mayan, like the Mayans. I am born and raised in California, and so yes, this is my first Minnesota winter. I'm really excited to be here with you all. I'm currently at Project for Pride in Living, PPL, as an Employer Development Fellow. I am thrilled to be here with you all today because we're going to be part of this insightful panel with this topic of creating an inclusive apprentice environment. I'm particularly excited for this webinar because we've been hearing firsthand from really cool and special human beings and our apprentices on this topic. And just for some of our friends who are not able to join us today, our webinar will be recorded to be shared with them later. So we're going to jump right into our agenda. I'm going to start with my colleague and my mentor, Antonio. I'll be doing a better introduction in a bit, but Antonio will be sharing a bit more about all things PPL and our apprenticeship roadmap. Then we're going to jump into our first panel with our youth apprentice, who's working now at Fireside. And then our second panel is with Aon Apprentices. And then our last show is going to be our one-on-one Fireside Chat with our apprentice expert, Twin. First, I'm going to have my mentor, Antonio. Antonio Cardona is the Vice President of Project for Pride in Living, PPL, Vice President of Career Readiness, and leads PPL's adult and youth career pathways and our education and workforce. Currently also leading our True Alternative High School. Prior to PPL, he was a director of the Office of Public Charter Schools for Pillsbury United Communities, where he oversaw Pillsbury 20 charter schools. He helped created its Urban Institute for Service and Learning. He served as the director of Oak Park Community Center in North Minneapolis. And he also led the creation and the expansion of the Twin Cities site of Public Allies. He joined PPL in February 2021, and I'm super honored and excited for him to lead us more about Project for Pride and Living and more about our Apprentices roadmap. Passing on to Antonio.
Great, thank you, Mayan. Appreciate that introduction. And I just saw in the chat, looks like a couple people may be having audio challenges. Can everybody, I just want to scan, can people just hear? Okay, it looks like it got figured out. So great, we will go ahead and jump in. So appreciate y'all being here with us this afternoon. As you may or may not know, it's National Apprenticeship Week. And so a week of programming kicked off yesterday. So we are doing this webinar really to focus on creating inclusive environments for apprentices themselves. I know that a lot of our local programming each day is focused around a specific sector like manufacturing or veterans and apprenticeships. And so we really wanted to focus on centralizing the voices of apprentices themselves and what employers can do to really kind of make sure that the table is set for folks. So a little bit about PPL. We are a nonprofit in Minneapolis, serving the metro of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. Been doing this work for about 50 years, employment work for a good 30 years. Career pathways and running apprenticeships has been in our wheelhouse for a long time. So you can see our mission here, really about building the hope, assets, and self-reliance of individuals and families who have lower incomes by providing one, transformative, affordable housing, and second, career readiness services. Really believe that stable housing and a good paying job are two things that folks really need in order to advance themselves, elevate out of poverty, and just create kind of a good life for them and their families. So you see a little bit here, we have a host of programming, formal career pathways where people enter a training program, sometimes get paid during their experience, earn an industry recognized credential, but then also other programming as well. We do a lot of home ownership financial coaching. We helped 114 families close on a single family house last year. And so opens up about $25 to $30 million in eventual home value for predominantly families of color. So I'll go to the next one and just share a little bit about kind of why we feel like apprenticeship structures in businesses are important. So we'll start with a few data slides here. So this is a slide that shows the youth disconnection rate. So you're either not going to school or working or both. And so we have it broken out here by racial categories. And you can kind of see from '08 on it started to kind of decline, even though there are significant gaps between racial groups. And then at the start of the pandemic, those disconnection rates started to go back up again. Let's go to the next slide. A few things that go into this. Pandemic has certainly made staying on a pathway difficult. Chronic absenteeism, young people not being able to go to school, or what we also found during pandemic is young people as primary breadwinners, and so having to actually go to work and make money, even though the youth unemployment rate did also jump at the same time. Everybody's circumstance is not the same. Even pre-pandemic, no, we'll go back to that one, same one. So even pre-pandemic, college university enrollment was down anywhere from like 15 to 20%, depending on the type of institution you look at. Was made worse during pandemic, and folks are really not expecting that to recover much. And so what you have is just a lower proportion of the population enrolling into post-secondary institutions. And then you can see the data here on youth unemployment. Go to the next slide. I'll just kind of leave this up for a second. This is really information about graduation rates, education requirements for well-paying job, and then also kind of average debt taken on by young people going to a 4-year institution. Go to the next slide. This one I'm going to spend just a second on. So this is a great slide that came to us from one of our partners, CareerWise, that shows kind of the U.S. education system's leaky pipeline. So the way to read this is if you think about 100% of young people that go into 9th grade, of those 100 young people, 85 of them will graduate. Of that 85, 53 will go to college. Of that, 42 go to their second year, and 24% actually receive a post-secondary degree and complete those 4 years. So what this shows is that the way that the system is set up, in the end, only really works for 24% of the population. And so what we hear from our employer partners is an effect of what this looks like. So we have a banking partner that's talked about this a good amount to say, like, if we're trying to recruit out of college campuses, we're not having as much success as we would hope to. And this really explains what's at the heart of that, because if you're really only looking to recruit college graduates, you've already limited yourself to 24% of that pool. And so we'll go to the next slide, because the next slide really shows more of a local example. So this is from data from Minneapolis Public Schools. If you think about the previous slide, it generally lines up the same way. We in Minneapolis are actually a little bit lower. So rather than the system working for 24%, it only works for 18% of young people in Minnesota. So what does that mean for us? We'll go to the next slide. So what it means is employers need to look for talent somewhere else, or they need to develop talent by themselves. There's a great line that one of our partners has used before, and it's really about looking at employers as co-developers of talent, not just consumers of talent. And that's why I think apprenticeship structures are so beneficial, because the employer is really saying, here's our business need. And here's what it's going to take for somebody to be qualified for this job. And we're going to participate and pitch in and getting that skill development happening for folks. So we'll go on to the next slide. This, I think, is also telling, and I think about my own experience as well. Certainly, I did go to college, but the bulk of what I needed to know in order to do my job well, I didn't learn in those 4 years. I really learned it once I got the job. And so this slide really shows the level of skill importance, ideal learning space between school and work. And so if you look at these dimensions and where they're concentrated, the things that you need, you really get on the job-related theory, motivation, teamwork, handling unfamiliarity, problem solving. Those are all things that are experiential. And you need to be in an environment in order to do that. And so I think it just shows another example of why on-the-job learning and apprenticeships are critical. We'll go to the next slide. Here, really just a little bit of the ROI. You can kind of read across those of what the benefit is for employers, apprentices, education, and community. Because I think the thing for us in this, as the way that we approach the work at Project for Pride in Living, is we really need to see ourselves in an ecosystem. Business can't do it by itself. Nonprofit organizations can't do things by themselves. And so we all need each other to play a critical role in doing this work. So I'll go to the next one, and I'll wrap up in a couple slides. Just another few bullets around the return on investment here. Folks are typically able to earn more money over the course of not just their apprenticeship, but also their lifetime. There's also, increasingly employer partners are paying the bill for tuition. And so that's really significant, right? And you don't have debt that you're already having to worry about coming out of the experience. And then I'll wrap it up with our roadmap here. And this is a tool, and this comes from a brochure that we give to employer partners that says, like, here are the things and the keys that you would need to have in order to build a successful apprenticeship. First, there's a management shift here, right? We need to think differently about what coaching relationships look like. Are you thinking about your work as like management or leadership or coaching and mentoring? Because in the space of apprenticeships, leading with coaching and mentoring is really what's going to get there. There's an element of teaching with folks that are working directly with apprentices. Talked a little bit about seeing yourself in the ecosystem. We all need each other. And it's really important that apprenticeship experiences are customizable. What works for one business isn't going to necessarily work for another one. Historically, apprenticeships have been associated with the trades. So electrician, carpentry, things like that. We're really trying to get folks to think differently about what would be apprenticeable, a word that we use here. And it can be anything. It could be like professional jobs. We've traveled across the country in the last number of years, and we've met apprentices that are in like United Way, or they're in IT, or they're in business development. So things that are different than what the traditional approach is. And then the other piece here for us is planning for wraparound services. And that's what we do primarily at Project for Pride in Living. Is we're very high touch with the apprentices that we work with, making sure that they have what they need. Is there transportation assistance that they need? Do they just need a listening ear? Do they need connection with childcare? And so really being able to plan well for those wraparound services is critical. The other thing too, for businesses that host apprenticeship programs, is to see apprenticeship management as professional development. So you may have a new supervisor or manager that doesn't have a ton of experience. This would be a way for them to get their own professional development of like, what does it mean to lead people? Or what does it mean to build your own team? Another thing is it increases retention with integration. So making sure that it's connected to other opportunities. Is there a ladder? Are there systemic barriers that a corporation has internally that it needs to address? So for example, we talk a lot about job descriptions. Do all the job descriptions have to say they require a 4-year degree, or do they need to be rewritten? This second to last one is really important. A commitment to apprenticeship organization-wide. In some cases, there's somebody who gets really excited about the idea of mentoring young people or even other adults. And let's say that person moves on to their next opportunity, and then you've lost the champion. And so how does that not happen? And how does a commitment to apprenticeship work span across an organization? And then, alternative on-ramps are a business imperative. Population growth is really low, especially here in Minnesota. We already talked about the number of college graduates that are there. And so if a region is to succeed economically and businesses are going to continue to make money, then providing these alternative on-ramps is definitely a business imperative. So I will pause there and throw it back to Maya.
Thanks, Antonio, for that great overview. We're going to jump right into, for the time, we're going to jump right into our first panel with our youth apprentice participants, and it's going to be with Monses and Isaiah. And I have the honor to introduce them both. So Isaiah and Monses both came to us from the which is our Learn, Earn, and Achieve Potential Initiative through our Annie Casey Foundation, through our Gap School in St. Paul. So they both are super lovely human beings, well-rounded. They practice a lot of leadership and really inclusive and bringing a lot of people into the space, and trying to build community, and they're learning and growing together. Monses is super already a talented visual artist who's fully immersed into glassblowing immediately. And then Isaiah had never discovered or considered visual art before and immediately surprised himself and really immersed and absorbing into the glassblowing process. They both have been at Foci for about 2 years, and in that time, they both moved through being students, interns, and apprentice. They work really closely with Victoria, and who was working at PPL, and Victoria sends lots of love for not being able to make it today. But they both have traveled to New York, Detroit, and Chicago and demonstrated glassblowing even at our Minnesota State Fair for about 10 days straight, which is super cool. So give me a warm welcome, and I'm gonna pass it a quick fun question. The first one is gonna be, I'm gonna see if Monses can go first. Can you walk me through how the apprenticeship program changed your career and life trajectory?
I think it changed my trajectory a lot by like it just opened my eyes to like a lot of different areas in glassmaking and glass art. So it was like something I was already interested in, but I didn't know like there was more. Like there was a lot more glass stuff that you could do. And then like the other aspects of my like artistic styles, like wanting to like collab and figure out what other materials I could use to mix in with my glass art. So it's been interesting the last few months, just thinking of tons of ideas and stuff. But it definitely brought me down like a whole nother path, which is very cool.
I love that. And I like pursue passion.
Could you repeat the question, mine?
Yeah, can you walk me through how the apprenticeship program changed your career and life trajectory?
Well, kind of like Mon says, I'm gonna pick back off a little bit. It changed my life a lot. Well, first of all, I'll start off with probably if I never got involved in LEAP or this apprenticeship, I probably wouldn't even graduate high school. So I probably wouldn't even had a good job or anything. So that's one thing. And also I was never into art. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. And through this apprenticeship, it's been giving me a lot of opportunities, opening my eyes to a lot of things, and it's just been very, very nice.
I love that both sides give you both opportunity to like continue to explore art or like be exposed to the art world. What is something about your employer at Foci that makes you feel welcome and belong and wish other organization would do more of? Isaiah, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. One thing I would say, they're very welcoming. A lot of bosses, they just treat you like an object. I feel like here they treat you like an actual person, and I really like that.
It's really important. How about you, Monses?
Pretty much the same. Like it feels like a family environment. Like everybody is just so comfortable around each other, and there's no like negative energy. There's no hostile people. It's all like people I look forward to see, and which is kind of rare nowadays. Like a lot of different work areas are just so toxic, and like you wake up and you're like, dang, now I gotta go to work. Gotta do this for a few hours. But at Foci, it's like, all right, I can't wait. So it's pretty. The people are probably the best thing.
What's your favorite thing about both sides? I think you both just like tackled it. So I think if you don't mind sharing, curious about what's your family's reactions been to your apprenticeship experiences so far? You mentioned a little bit before that.
I can start off. Well, at first it was kind of just like whatever. It's just a new thing that I'm trying. But now that I like keep talking to my family about it, how I told them that I'm about to like come to how they're gonna bring me to Chicago, Detroit, and then New York. They've been very surprised and just very happy for me, I would say.
Okay, I could go off that. My family was like also very surprised and supportive. For a big reason, like like I've done things none of my family have been able to do, and it's like it's new to me because I feel like I'm trying to set like the best example to my younger like siblings and my younger nephews and cousins. Um, just being in a position where I'm able to do things um, my family couldn't do is it's important to them and it's important to me. And just thankful that I was able to do what I was able to do and possibly do more, which is very cool.
I love
I love that.
All right, to answer Antonio's question, talk a little bit more about the trips. So, the Chicago trip, we partnered with Ignite Glass and Firebird Community Glass, where we went over there and basically had a project. We made stuff, and so we basically like went over the project there, networked, and then same thing at Firebird, and then for Detroit, it was a Detroit Gas Conference, which happens every 4 years, where in the glass blowing community, a bunch of artists from around mainly the US, but also the world come together and just like network. And Monsace, if you want to talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So originally I was the first person in I think Minnesota to go to the Expanding Horizons New York trip. Or at least at Foci. But we met few people from Chicago out there, and after the New York trip, we were able to keep in contact and bring Isaiah and two other people, Jojo and Jorge, to Chicago, and then we were able to do what we did out there, which was very cool. And then all four of us were able to go to Detroit after that, I think in June. And we did a lot of different stuff, met a lot of cool people. Met this other glass artist, and he invited us to go to Seattle in January, and hopefully that's still a go that all four of us are able to do. But yeah, we did a lot of work with a lot of other people in different states.
Thank you both for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing about your experience at Foci. And I love Foci is one of a really fun and successful apprentice program. And it's really nice to see what it looks like to explore art as a career, and glass blowing industry is being changed by Monsace and Isaiah, as you could probably tell. And just for the mindful time, I'm going to transition to our next panel. But before that, can everyone just join me giving your hands up, jazz hands or claps or any reactions for Monsace and Isaiah? Super excited to see these two folks changing the glass blowing industry and continue to lead examples in their community and be inspiring to many other folks. Thank you for all those folks. So now we're going to transition a little bit to our Aon participants. So Aon is a consulting company that provides data and analytics services. This apprenticeship program is a 2-year hybrid model pursuing an associate's degree while working and learning on the job. So I'm gonna let Ethan, Marcus, and Sumaya introduce themselves, where they're from, and a little bit about themselves. To start off with Marcus.
Hi guys, thank you for having us. I'm Marcus Johnson. I'm a 2022 apprentice. This program is a 2-year program, so I'm about, I don't know, 1.5 years in almost, kind of. I work in the commercial risk area at Aon, so I help with insurance with big clients, big companies. So you won't see us on TV or anything because we're not selling to you, but we do a lot of that. And then I'm from Minnesota. I grew up in Apple Valley, went to Eastview down there. So yeah.
I guess passing it on to Tamaya.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And my name is Tumea. I'm originally from Kenya, and I've been an apprentice at Aon for a little over 3 months now. I work in business technology, and I work in the project management team. And yeah, I'm excited and honored to present and be here at this event today.
And my name's Ethan. I'm also a 2022 apprentice, just like Marcus. So about a year and a half in, I'm in the compliance management team at Aon. It's kind of under the umbrella of risk management. It's been a great time, and I'm 22, grew up in Minnesota, just like Marcus.
Awesome. Thank y'all. We're gonna dive right into our first question. What do you think that your employer does really well for this apprenticeship program to be successful? We're gonna hit it off with Marcus again.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm going to hit on is just the community around us and the people around us to help us be successful. I was straight out of high school, so 3 months after sitting in a classroom 8 hours a day, going into this corporate world is obviously scary, unique, different, something I'd never done. So having the people around me like PPL, we originally had Jesse, but now Jay. She was when Jesse was here, very helpful to talk to, communicate things to. And then even the school we partner with, Normandale, easy to talk to, helpful. They'll help you if you need a tutor, whatever it may be. But just Aon, the program team has given us people around us to help us be successful and grow in this apprenticeship.
Thanks, Marcus.
Sorry. Yeah, I love what you said, Marcus, and I totally agree. And one thing that I wanted to highlight, mostly is the fact that they're really big on asking us for feedback. They always reach out, ask us for feedback, and they always reiterate the fact that the program is not complete, and they're always working on, what they can do to better the program. And it just makes us feel very like our opinion is valued. And yeah, they really do a really good job at that.
Yeah, I think both of Marcus and Samaya said amazing things. I think to go on both of their points, support is just huge. We were given so many different resources and different groups of people to support us throughout the way. Managers were informed of the program. Teams were prepared for when we entered their team. It was a very warm welcome. Making the transition from our very different lives beforehand comfortable was, I think, one of the most important things that Aon did. Amazing.
That's amazing to hear that Aon's been really supportive and being a great resource. What is something that you wish other employers could know why apprenticeships are critical and needed? Kind of to your experience, you kind of share you maybe not be doing this or not be in school, but it's something along those lines you think that employers should know about. Marcus, you want to hit it off again, or should we switch up the order for you? I'm not putting up first all the time.
I can start again. Yeah, so why I think it's needed is, for me specifically, just my situation and some people I know that are in the same kind of situation. I originally was going to go to the University of Minnesota, but it was going to be a lot of money for something I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it was really a thing of, do I go spend all this money and find something? And so I found that I was going to go to a community college. So originally going to go to Normandale anyway. And in that process, I found this program, which I thought was too good to be true. But with that, it's helped me be able to find what I like, what I don't like, where I want to go, and a stepping stone in my life and my career going on.
Yeah, I kind of agree because I was kind of in the same boat as well. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think that it's really critical to have this program because aside from it being something that is really good to like help community, I think that it also like we go to school to get the knowledge and the history behind everything that we work on. But when we work, we actually get the preparation and the skills that we need. So it eliminates like the whole, when people graduate from universities, they have to like get experience and not many people might want to hire them anyways because experience is really important. So I think that it really bridges the gap between the two things and it like makes them all one. So I really do appreciate that in this program.
Yeah, both of them had amazing answers. I think it's huge where none of us would be in this position without the program. I think it's really critical when you think about where all these apprentices came from different areas. Personally, I'm a little older than the other two, and I was working full time and doing a lot of factory work, a lot of hands-on work, and I think I just never thought I could have the ability to learn about this or work in this kind of area. And I think it's very critical that we're taught on the job, and it was something that, school I had given a try on my own, but without support, I struggled. And it just proves how well the program is. We're all thriving in school and in work just because of all that support. And it's definitely a position I'm grateful to be in and would not be in otherwise.
I'll
Yeah.
add one more thing to this, but I think it's also critical just for like companies themselves with being able to reach a different talent group. Not everyone can go to their four-year universities, and there are plenty of people out there that aren't in those positions that can be very successful in this corporate world or whatever it may be. And so if you talk to people around the office, they'll say some of their best interactions and best people they work with are apprentices or former apprentices, whatever it may be. So just creates a bigger talent group for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you all. I think to Sumaya's point too, like there's a gap between like our education systems and jobs. And if you even have a four-year degree, it's not always guaranteed for you to have that experience. And it looks different when you have that hands-on work-based learning skills and that experience. And so I've been really insightful to hear from you all. And I think Ethan kind of hit it a little bit for us and kicked it off. Just to piggyback on that, how has your apprenticeship like influenced your career trajectory? If Sumaya and Marcus could share a bit more about that. I'll let y'all choose. Sumaya, do you want to
I can add to it a little more and then I'll let them go. I just say, it set me up on a path where, I feel like I'm almost destined to be successful, a path that's sending me in the right direction. I'm going to come out of this 2-year program. Marcus and I are a year and a half in already, or just about, and we're going to have not only a 2-year degree, but also 2 years of job experience at this company and in these areas. And I think that's just amazing.
I can go. I think that going from being like a confused 20-year-old to, being here, it really opens up your eyes to like all the opportunities and possibilities. I mean, Aon is a global company, so even if I don't like where I'm working at right now, they have departments in literally every single, department that there is. So I'm almost guaranteed to find something that I might like, and the future is bright, not to be cliche or anything, but yeah.
Well, you guys heard a little bit on me for, not knowing what I wanted to do. So after this program, my plan is to attend University of Minnesota to finish my bachelor's in business. While I'm doing that, I still plan on working at Aon. So I'll get put into my full-time role here in August when we are, or yeah, in August when we were finished. But I think how it impacted me was just helping me figure out what I like, what I don't like, and where I want to go, and giving me the opportunity to explore that and look around and grow.
Yeah, it's been super great to hear all about like your experiences and the opportunities that you're learning here at this apprentice program at Aon. Do you mind quickly sharing, if it's possible, like how did you learn about this apprentice program, or like how did you sign up? I think some folks mentioned it a little bit last night too.
I can go first this time. So I found this out through, I randomly decided to take this one IT course because I really didn't know what I wanted to do, just to see if, you know, the IT field might be something I might be interested in. So I did it and I liked it. So I was looking for, you know, IT opportunities somewhere. And I found it out through this Black employment organization called 110. They post like job openings every single day, and one day they sent that, and I didn't think it was real because I've been hearing about all these scams on LinkedIn. So I was like, it might not be real. So I looked at it, and it's like, you know, you go to school and you actually get to work as well. So I applied, and I mean, it's a big company, of course, so hundreds of people are going to apply. So I didn't think I was going to get in, but here I am, and I am grateful for the opportunity.
I can go. You know, for me, like I said, I worked in a factory, a lot of hands-on things, and I did enjoy that. I kind of knew that was the best way for me to learn was on the job. And so I was looking, I just did a simple Google search for apprenticeships, and Aon's had popped up. I was thinking more of a trade things would pop up in the search, but Aon's did, and it sent me on this whole new plan. So.
Yeah, same with me. Pretty similar to Ethan. Really just a Google search. It was, I knew I was gonna go to Normandale. I was like, so who will pay for my school and I can work there too. That's really what it was, and I found this. So yeah.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much, Ethan, Sumaya, and Marcus, for your time. It's been wonderful to hear about like, the works you're learning and the things you're going to be doing at Aon. Super excited for you all and your career and trajectory, and can't wait to hear more about it. Thanks again for your time and sharing your story with us today. And then we're going to switch on up to our last show today. We're going to go to our 101 Fireside Chat with Tway. And Tway is this really special human being too, because Tway actually used to be an apprentice prior and now is actually an expert at creating apprentice experiences at CareerWise. Tway brings 5 years of youth leadership, including a 3-year apprenticeship experience to his position at CareerWise. He graduated an apprentice program and is a Colorado native. So Tway brings a really fresh perspective to his team, and can imagine applying that to being the apprentice ambassador role. Tway served as a communications project coordinator, apprentice managing and coordinating students and business focused events. In his free time, he enjoys bowling and bowling and spending time with his friends and family. Hi, Tway. How are you doing today?
Hi everyone, I'm doing really good. Thank you for that introduction. It's really great. You know, I never know what they have on the website until somebody reads it back to me. So yes, but it's great.
Don't tell them that's where I got my homework from. Don't tell them that. But it was a difference. It's important to differentiate bowling and bowling, because I think those are 2 different sports, but we got there. We're going to start off with the first question for you. Can you share more about your personal journey and like as an apprentice and now supporting apprenticeship programs? Because you have such a unique and fresh perspective that makes it really unique and helpful for the apprentice programs, I'm sure.
Yes. So you guys are over here. I mean over here. My camera's over here. So if I'm looking this way, please know that I am looking at you and paying attention. So my background as an apprentice, being like, you know, being apprentice, like really the journey was really great. It was really amazing. I think that starting off as an apprentice, you kind of don't know what to expect. And where I grew up at in the neighborhood I was in, I really never had I really never knew of opportunities that were out there for me to be able to, take advantage of, because in the community I grew up in, like it's mainly Black and brown, Hispanic and Black. That's it, and you had teachers who liked certain students, so like they got opportunity and different things that you didn't necessarily get, that wasn't necessarily offered to the whole school, or like you didn't know that the counseling center offered this, or you didn't know the school had this kind of resource. So career-wise, coming in and building a partnership with the different public schools and of course other school organizations around us, they made it an effort to make sure every student within our school and partners with their partner knew about what career-wise was, so that the opportunity was given to everyone. So signing up for it, I didn't know I was getting myself into. All I remember is my assistant principal, never gonna forget her name is Jennifer Alvarado. She like chased me around the school like every single day for like 2 weeks, like, wait, do this program, sign up for this program. And I was like, lady, leave me alone before I tell my mom you are harassing me. And I finally budged the very last day, the last day that the hub was open, that they were accepting any applicants. I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. Stepped in, and on my bus ride home, I think that next day, CareerWise called me and was like, hey, let's set up an interview. And you have time to speak right now? And I was like, yeah. And I knew I was on the bus, so they were hearing like the bus names behind me, like, you are in Decatur. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. And I ended up getting the apprenticeship and got the job. And being at CareerWise for 3 years, I learned a lot. I learned that there is so much more to the world than what I was seeing, than what, maybe mom and dad were able to show me, step parents, or like, my community was able to show me. I didn't know that there were all these different jobs and different things that, keep the world going. Like I didn't know consulting was a thing. I didn't know you had to get consulting for how to engage people to be invested in your company. I didn't know that there was consulting for, public relations, and when CEOs need somebody to help brand them. I didn't know those things were a thing until I got into apprenticeship and started working on a marketing team. My journey was kind of up and down and crazy. Of course, I was a high school teenager, so I came in guns a-blazing. I was crazy all over the place. But over the course of the 3 years, I learned a whole lot about myself, and now kind of in that rebranding stage of separating myself from apprentice Tway to now full-time Tway. So with that, I've experienced, all the things of, trying to separate school and work, trying to balance both things, trying to show up for my team when I don't know these things, because I'm 16, 17 years old. I don't know all the answers. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know this document you want me to write up. Like, how do you create a Google document? So I kind of went through all the motions. And so throughout my 3 years, I was able to learn a whole lot, to now I'm able to give back to our apprentices now in my full-time role. And the role was created, and I'm forever grateful that the role was created for me to be in terms of like, what do we need for our program? And I was able to kind of brainstorm, this is what I think we need. And lo and behold, I didn't know that they were taking my feedback, like, all right, this is the position we created, and we're going to interview for it if you want it or if you don't want it. And here I am now, my 6th year at CareerWise doing this work. So that's a little bit about my journey.
That's amazing. Well, congrats to that. And I think you hit a point on it too about like apprentices programs. I think because I'm also first generation in my family to go to college and grad school. And so I think a lot of it sometimes is we don't know a lot of the opportunities that are out there. Like, of course, I didn't know. And of course, my parents, they didn't know what they didn't know and couldn't point me to that direction. And so it's been really interesting for me to see how apprentices really pull a lot of people into different paths, and usually in non-traditional communities are going into these spaces. And I think it's really, really powerful. And I think that hits to the part what you're saying, Joy. So I really appreciate that. And so like, I think to that point, like kind of like your experience and your perspective, what do you think a potential employer should know when they're pursuing apprentice, or like what would make them successful to be a host for this? And I know some other panelists have shared before, but I'm curious from your perspective, what does that look like, you think, for you?
So I think when you're looking at, what a potential employer should consider, you consider like, all right, I'm going to get an apprentice who maybe doesn't know the background in which, a professional setting is. So considering that, consider like, making resources available when you're bringing young people in, so that way they are able to understand the culture of your company, understand you know, what is business casual to you? What is professional to you? Because every company, every organization has a different understanding of what business casual is. Like our casual is a career white shirt and some jeans and some shorts sometimes, and sometimes it's kind of like, you know, a sweatshirt and some sweatpants, you know. But other companies are like, no, like you can have some jeans on and a nice button up. And I think that's, I think considering, and also considering that, like, I want to be an impact in my community. So considering that, you know, not going for, you know, always thinking I have to go for the best candidate, the best person that has XYZ on their resume, or they have this background, because, you know, you could get somebody who is willing to learn and who's wants to give 100%. And that is probably going to be your best employee versus somebody like, you know, like you may have somebody who is, who has all the things that you want, and they come in and it's kind of like, it's hard to teach or do different things. And, you know, and I'm not knocking anybody out, because I believe that apprenticeship is for everybody, no matter where you're at. But I think that when you're considering that, having resources in those areas, and I think also too, having an understanding that when they're coming in, when students are coming in, there is a huge age gap. So how do you make sure you're like preparing your employees and preparing your apprentices? Like, hey, you're going to be around people who range from age, you know, now that we have apprentices in the company, I have to be inclusive, from 16 to maybe, you know, 50 years old. And those are different generations. Everybody communicates different. There's different ways that you interact. So how do you make sure there's resources and people are ready and able to, like, all right, this is how you do XYZ, or this is how I'm introducing the apprentice. So I think that's what you should consider. And also just considering, like, you know, asking them, what would make this experience great for you? Like, what can we do to make this experience great? And then vice versa. The apprentice asking, how can I make sure I'm showing up successfully, or know what is it that I need? So I think that's a little bit, that's a very concise list of what I think people should consider. I could go on and on for hours on what we should be considering.
Yeah, I know. I think it's very important. It's a very long list, but it's so funny you're talking about the business and casual culture. I was like, were you there at this event I went to last night? It was business casual, and I showed up with jeans, and everyone was in suits. Some of the people know what I'm talking, if you know what I was talking about last night. But I think I want to really emphasize and highlight to your point about the culture being inclusive. And I think it's important to like also think about, I shared a little bit about intersectionality, which is like different sections of our identity, like which is that our education, our social economic class, our gender, our sexual orientation. And I think when we're being inclusive, I think that's like a plethora and a huge thing that we need to consider, and think about age too. I think it's really important that gets left out when we talk about that in our work culture and corporate workplace culture. Yeah.
And I think just to add something there too, like to all the people who are in businesses on here, because I can't see everyone, but when you are considering apprenticeship, know that you're probably going to realize a lot of things that, oh, we're probably not doing that the correct way, or we should probably change that, because you could be so used to certain things in your culture. And even I think the younger people on this phone call, like, I don't know if, like, you know, Marcus, Samaya, Jay, all you guys can see, like, coming in, like, you're kind of helping shift the company, because they're kind of like, oh, we can't necessarily do that or say that, because that's not how the world is moving. So I think that's the important. So when you're thinking of considering your apprenticeship, consider that there might be some change that's going to happen, that your CEO, the vice president, the president, the director is going to realize a lot of things. And so you may have to consider shifting some things to make sure the environment is inclusive of young people. The environment is, you know, a learning and safe and opportunity place. So those are also other things that you have to consider. And I think that an apprenticeship is an apprenticeship for the high school student or the young person, but it's also in turn apprenticeship for the company too, because they're like learning, like, okay, the world is moving here and we're kind of stuck on these values and this culture, and we have to move and shift with the culture too.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I think to piggyback on that, like your role at CareerWise, and CareerWise do such a big role in the culture of apprentices. Do you like see like a big shift, or like something that you're like foreseeing for the future, especially since we're seeing this more of like apprentices is really needed and critical, and we've been seeing that a lot in these conversations in this past week too. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Let me see.
Of like the projection are going.
I think that in the way we're going and working at CareerWise, seeing the benefit of apprenticeship, I think is really great. I don't think companies or organizations who may not be participating in an apprenticeship company, they're like, it's easy to say like that. It's crazy to have a young person working on a job. They don't understand things. They don't understand it. So I think that the projection and where we're going with apprenticeship, it's kind of bridging that gap that young people are really on fire to learn. They're really on fire. And let me tell you, I was on fire not to be at school. That's what made me want to learn at work, because I did not want to be in that classroom Monday through Friday. When I had an option to leave, I said, oh, see y'all later. Deuces, I'm out. Don't text me. Don't call me. Don't email nothing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't want to hear nothing from the different public schools. Leave me alone. I think that the projection of where we're going is showing that apprenticeship is very impactful. It's shaping the world that we see today. It's shaping, finding talent and true talent. I think that when you're able to get a young person at that age of they're finding themselves, they're finding like what they truly like, and they're like, I'm gonna pursue my dream in manufacturing. I'm gonna pursue my dream in business operations, whether it's working in insurance or in an office setting. When companies find that and they're able to teach and kind of help grow their apprentice and into like what their company is, companies are seeing the benefit of, oh wow, when I'm doing an apprenticeship and I'm able to teach them this and they're able to get it and saying they got it and they're moving, and the apprentices are valuable in real time. I'm not knocking college at all. When you get somebody from 4-year college, 3-year college, whatever college, you spending a year or more, like, let me train you on some things. And if you have a 3-year apprenticeship, when that apprentice is ready to go into full-time work, they're hitting the ground running, whether they stay in this department, are they in this department, are they going to this company, they're hitting the ground running because they have the skills, because they have their 2-year or 3-year apprenticeship to back them up. And you got them at a time where they were learning and they were receiving the knowledge in real time based on where the company's going. So I think that's helpful. Now, the college route, I said I'm not knocking it. I think that's important. I think we're able to do both the apprenticeship in college. Then you're seeing, oh wow, I'm able to take what I'm learning at school and take what I'm learning in real time and apply it to work. And now I'm a really great employee, because almost every company that we go to, how the apprentices doing, oh my gosh, our apprentices are doing great. They're hitting home runs every week. And I've been having people who've been here for 50, 30 years and they just cracked this thing in, a couple 6 months. And that's what apprenticeship is doing to our world. And if more people would give young people a chance, instead of looking at the teenage, looking at they can't do this, looking at this work is too hard, in a young person, and really just take the time to try apprenticeship, whether it's just 1 apprentice, 2 apprentices, 3 apprentices, take 50 apprentices. We got your back, and give them a chance. I think that the world will be in a better place. And looking at that Swiss model, looking at what we're doing, we could get there. We just need the buy-in from the organizations and people to give young people a chance. If that answered your question, I know I kind of went all over.
No, that totally answers my question and more, and I love it. And I think that kind of like when Antonio was mentioning, there's a gap when he showed us the data, like there's the gap of like our enrollments in our schools, and like there's definitely, we see the gap between like college degrees or education to like getting a job. This is why apprenticeships programs and pathways are so critical and important. And there's so many different ways of learning. Some people learn better in schools and some people learn way better on hands-on and also work-based. I'm still learning that both too. So thank you so much, Toya, for sharing the secret sauce and sharing like what does that look like in the future, especially through your experience at CareerWise. Appreciate your time, and this was like really insightful, and this is great, and I appreciate you sharing all of that in your experience too.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Toya. We're gonna have a few more moments, so we're gonna pass it to Antonio for closing remarks. Thank you all to our panelists again for your time and your insightful experiences and stories that you shared today.
Great. Thank you, Mayan. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and being willing to participate in our panel. That was very insightful for myself to hear more about your experience. And I think, hearing from all 3 groups of folks, it really just emphasizes the fact that we all have a role to play in this. It's not so much the old model where it's like, you as an individual, the expectation is you go get educated and then you find a job and then you get hired. We all are participating in growing young people, growing adults, and moving people into careers that are meaningful and impactful and help elevate our communities. And so just a strong encouragement to join us at PPL and kind of spread the gospel of this work. Any businesses on the call, please do your job and share the good work of apprenticeships, and think about it for your own company if you do not have it where you work. And certainly if you want some help thinking about that, you can call Mayan and I, and we will help you do that. So thank you everybody for showing up today. Thank you Apprentices, and thank you Tway for your wisdom and knowledge. It is indispensable. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.